The islands and reefs of the South China Sea are variously claimed by 6 different governments. That's right, 6. And sovereignty over these islands is significant because of something called the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. UNCLOS states that every coastal nation has the rights within a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone off its coastal waters. Ownership of the islands, therefore, dictates who has the rights to the resource-rich South China Sea. Who owns the seas has always been a difficult concept. In the 18th century, Dutch legal theorist Cornelius van Binkenshoek stated that a nation owned the amount of sea it could defend from the land. At the time, that was the distance of cannon fire, around 3 nautical miles. The cannon shot rule is still used by several countries to this day, including Jordan and Singapore. In 1945, President Truman extended U.S. jurisdiction to the end of its continental shelf, the continuation of the landmass underwater until it drops down to the ocean floor. Then the U.S. built the world's first offshore oil platform out of sight of land in the Gulf of Mexico in 1947, 10.5 miles off the Louisiana coast. That started a race to claim oceanic resources far beyond the cannon shot distance from the shoreline. This led to a lot of countries clashing over their perceived rights. For example, the UK and Iceland had no less than 3 disputes, known as Cod Wars, over the fish in what are now Icelandic waters.
We will feel ourselves obliged to sever diplomatic relations.
To mediate these disputes, UNCLOS was drawn up and came into force in 1994. It carved up maritime territory into 4 main sections, typically measured from the low water line on a nation's shores. Within the territorial waters, a state can regulate use and has ownership over any resources found within. Foreign states can sail through, but they have to abide by the nation's laws. Within the contiguous zone, a state can continue to enforce laws in 4 specific areas: customs, taxation, immigration, and pollution. Within the EEZ, the state has the sole rights over natural resources, but foreign states may sail through, lay underwater cables, and even pass through for military reasons. And on the continental shelf, a state has the rights to resources in the subsoil of the continental shelf, but not the water column above if it is beyond the EEZ. Although 168 parties have ratified UNCLOS, it has far from resolved maritime territory disputes. For example, France went up against Canada outside the Gulf of St. Lawrence over its overseas territory of Saint-Pierre and Miquelon.
Their fight is with Canada.
Even sending a Navy frigate and seismic ship to test for oil in disputed waters before the two came to an agreement in 1992. And then there's the South China Sea. Based on its claim over the Spratly Islands, China states its EEZ covers pretty much the whole of the South China Sea, violating the EEZs of several countries. Despite the wording of UNCLOS, China believes it can control military activity in the EEZ too, leading to numerous clashes with the U.S., which regularly holds freedom of navigation patrols in the South China Sea. Leading to the question, if one country can ignore UNCLOS, what's stopping the rest?